So today we're going to be talking about addiction, specifically the nature of addiction. And we're going to be talking about three parts of this nature. The first part is going to be, what is it that addicts us? What is it about these particular things that causes us to get addicted? What do we get addicted to? The second thing that we're going to talk about is the idea of vulnerability to addiction. What makes some people get addicted to these substances and other people don't? And the third thing that we're going to be talking about is, how exactly do you measure addiction? How do you know for sure whether a person is addicted or not? Okay, three things. The essence of addiction, what makes it addicting, the vulnerability to addiction, what makes us vulnerable to addiction, and the diagnosis or the measurement of addiction. How do we know somebody is addicted? Okay, so we're going to start with the essence of addiction. What is addiction? According to medicine, addiction is a state of the body, essentially the brain, but the body, wherein physical changes have occurred that cause us to need the substance in order to feel normal, in order to not feel some significant symptoms, various things. According to the psychological view of addiction, people get addicted to things because they have difficult lives and they don't want to feel the difficulty, or they have boring lives, they have empty lives, and they want to feel excitement or something going on. And the scientific view of addiction combines these two things and attempts to create a broad picture, a list of qualities, wherein if a person meets these criteria, mind and body, they are addicted. Okay. So, in truth, all of those things do have, they are things we see when somebody's addicted, but they're not the essence of addiction. So what is? Okay, a clue to what this is comes from two words, which are a pair of complementary opposites, two words, which we have been using in and around addiction for a long, long time. And the two words are uppers and downers. Have you ever asked yourself what is going up and what is going down? The answer is not what you might think, because often people think, well, the uppers are making you happier and downers are making you calmer, and in some sense that's true. But the essential quality, the sine qua non of addiction, relates to these two words and what they do to us. And what do they do to us? They change our personal sense of time, how fast or how slowly time is going. So with uppers, our sense of time speeds up. The things that are going on around us, our sense of them, and equally important, our sense of our own thoughts speeds up. And with downers, our sense of what's going on around us and our sense of what's going on inside us slows down. Now, the thing about this is that when we get addicted to something, we get addicted to this because it is in effect the opposite of our nature. And I'm going to explain that in a moment. But this oppositeness is something that by taking the substance, we can, in a predictable, reliable way, and in a direction that we desire, we can alter our sense of how slow or fast time is going. So why would we want to do this? Okay. When I was 20 years old, um, it was the first time that I smoked pot. One of my friends convinced me to do this. Prior to that, I had been afraid of getting addicted, and then this night, I don't know why, but I smoked pot for the first time. We did this, he and I, in my living room, and I can remember sitting there, stoned, but sitting there in a somewhat state of trance. And what was I doing? Well, for what I believe was about 2 hours, I was staring at a pack of Marlboros, a closed carton of Marlboros, a pack, and I was looking at the red on on the carton. There, can picture it, red and white, and I was looking at the red. And so, what was I doing? How could I possibly be looking at that spot on the carton for that long and maintain an interest? Well, pot is a downer. Pot slows your perception down. And in doing so, it mimics or actually causes us to experience some of the qualities of a genuine spiritual experience. So, in a genuine spiritual experience, some years after that, I was at the Grand Canyon for the first time. And as I stood at the edge, I can remember feeling nervous about going over, but I was so taken by what I was looking at, the scale of it, the beautiful colors, the reds and browns and so on. And I can remember feeling as if time stopped, as if I was like in this state of timelessness, and that I was somehow seeing the inside of reality in a way that I normally didn't notice it. My sense of time was very slow, and as I took in this grandeur, I was overwhelmed with how beautiful it was. Now consider how that happens when you fall in love with a person, or if you see the beauty in a flower, or you watch puppies. When you see these kinds of things, what really happens is you lose your sense of time passing. You're drawn into the scene, in effect. But in the case of like looking at a painting or a flower or a person that you're falling in love with, it feels as if time slows down. Think of the couple, that the stereotypical scene where the two people are coming toward each other in the field of flowers and they're like floating and going slowly. Okay, so this is the essential quality of a spiritual experience, that we feel as if we are slowing down and seeing the richness and the beauty of something. Now go back to my scene with the pack of Marlboros, because quite honestly, there's nothing beautiful about that. And yet that's what I felt. So how did I feel that this was so beautiful and so deep? Well, because the quality that puts us in that state of mind is that our minds slow down. They're still going, but they're going very slowly. And as we take this in very slowly, it appears to be beautiful. In effect, we fall in love with what we're seeing. Feels like we have the inside joke on the rest of the world, in that we can see this beauty and others can't. Okay. Now, the thing about this is that what happened that day was that this downer pot was the exact opposite of the normal state of my brain. At the time, my mind raced regularly and frequently. My thoughts were very rapid. My speech was so rapid that even when I wasn't doing any kind of drugs or drank, people would often say to me, "What are you on? You're really hyped up." And it simply was me, my metabolism, my mind, whatever it was very quick. And it was, quite honestly, faster than I really wanted it to be. I couldn't enjoy any of my thoughts. I could hear things, they passed through, but they didn't have any a deep meaning for me. That day when I smoked pot was the first time wherein my mind slowed down in a way that I felt wow, look at what I have been missing out on. Okay. Now, smoking pot would repeatedly, reliably, predictably um, have that effect on me, make me feel better, more myself. Um, okay, so my friend that I did this with, um, he while he smoked pot, um, he also did other things which would speed his mind up, and his preference was that. And why? Well, because ordinarily his mind was going very slowly, and he was one of those people who, would have gotten sometime after that the label of ADD or ADHD. And his mind would go very slowly, and if asked questions or if he tried to think of the answer to something, very little would come to him. It would come to him very slowly. Okay, and so if he did something that would speed up his sense of time, an amphetamine for instance, his thoughts would move from this sluggish pace to a more normal pace. And so he would feel as if things were coming into focus. Um, and I felt the same thing from the opposite direction. My thoughts were going too fast for me to really see clearly, and then when I did something that slowed down my sense of time, they came into focus. So now you can see the words upper and downer have not only a relationship to our sense of time, but they have a relationship to our normal state of mind, our nature. And so we use these things and become quite addicted to them because they actually allow us to have a state of mind wherein we actually experience life at a very normal, clear pace. There is also the idea that, of course, when your thoughts race all the time, as mine did when I was younger, even if your thoughts go slower than um, um, the ideal, you don't mind because it's so unpleasant to have racing thoughts all the time. And the opposite's true for a person whose nature is the opposite. If they're normally very slow-minded, and then they go up and it's fast, a little faster than normal, or even quite a bit faster than normal, it's exhilarating for them because their ability to think clearly and take in thoughts for them feels wonderful. So now, to see how this is true for other things other than substances, I'm just going to briefly mention, one of the other things that we get addicted to, or some people can get addicted to, is gambling. And gamblers aren't taking something into their body, but they're doing an activity. And the activity alters their sense of time in a predictable and a reliable way. And so how does it alter it? Well, gamblers call the thing they get addicted to the action. And it is the rapid activity. In general, gamblers experience a slower mind, a slower mindset, a kind of boredom in some sense. But when you are about to see a horse race and the race goes off, the race is a very rapid thing, and the race is brief, and the person's mind very quickly tries to get up to speed with the race, and that increase in speed, the increase in the sense of time inside the person, is addicting. It's no different than if somebody took an amphetamine. Okay, so now then there's the idea about why children with ADD get given amphetamines or Ritalin or something that speeds their mind up. And you talk about that it brings it into focus and such, but the truth is that all of their minds are in the the category, the natural category of their thoughts or they experience life or their sense of time is quite slow. So when they say they can't keep up in a classroom, what it really means is that the normal pace of a teacher or the words or what is going on in the classroom, it can be quite rapid. It often is. And those children that have ADD or whatever you want to call it, their nature is for their minds to process thoughts slower. That is it. They're not dumb. They're processing thoughts slower. What happens when they take a medication is that their thoughts speed up. And they speed up to the point where they can then keep up and they can think more clearly. Okay, so a question that's around a lot is, why then don't they get addicted? And the truth is that it is, A, it's about the dose and how much they're getting and the way that they're getting it. But B, the quality of getting high largely comes from how rapidly this change in time happens, the onset ramp. How quickly does the person whose mind's going slowly, how quickly does the drug cause their mind to speed up? And for the person with racing thoughts, how quickly does this substance cause their mind to slow down? Okay. And in the case of the things that addicted people use, they look for something that happens very rapidly. And the more rapid, the more potentially addicting. In any event, what we've just been talking about is the essential quality in addiction. What makes something addicting? So what makes it addicting? The ability to take a substance that predictably and reliably and very rapidly alters one's sense of time, one's personal sense of time, both externally, how things are going, how quickly, and internally, how fast your thoughts are happening, and moving that sense of time the opposite of your nature until you think more clearly.